Thank you everyone for joining MAGNiTT's June webinar on AI. This comes after our report on how AI is evolving in MENA and how MENA is catching up with the AI game. Just as we usually do across our webinars, we look at more of setting the stage across how AI was performing globally. So AI venture ideally peaked in 2021 at $98 billion. However, investment then dropped in 2022 to around $63.4 billion before declining further in 2023 to $56.7 billion amidst what we were seeing as some global macroeconomic headwinds. Deal volume also declined to around 4,380 deals into that focused on AI in 2023. 2024, however, saw more of a massive comeback. We've seen funding that went into AI increase up to $101.5 billion, which is a 79% year-on-year increase compared to what we had seen in 2023, at a time where the deals increased to 4,726 deals, which is an 8% increase in activity. What's interesting is in 2024, AI became the top funded tech vertical globally, surpassing fintech for the first time ever. We've mentioned across previous presentations that AI during 2024 did reshape venture activity globally. During 2024, AI accounted for 37% of the total global venture capital funding, at a time where it accounted for 17% of the total deals. Ideally, that's in every $3 spent into venture capital going into the AI activity. The US alone during 2024 accounted for 76% of the total global AI funding. If we're looking at comparing the funding shares between 2022 and 2024, we see that the funding share ideally more than doubled between those 2 years. Moving forward into Q1 2025, we see that the share of AI deals to total deals is definitely following an increasing trend. OpenAI alone contributed to 33% of the total global funding overall, while AI in terms of deals now accounts to 1 in every 5 deals closed globally, signaling ideally this structural shift in investor focus. Narrowing down into MAGNiTT AI report, our report is broken down into multiple sections. The first section ideally identifies how MAGNiTT classifies AI. The report, and as we move forward into the presentation, we're going to see that we broke AI into the AI native and the AI-enabled startups. AI-native startups are startups whose core product or service is fundamentally built on AI, like machine learning, natural language processing, and computer vision. For those startups, artificial intelligence is not just a feature, it's the foundation of their value proposition. However, AI-enabled startups are startups that do incorporate AI tools into their technicalities in order to improve their existing operations, enhance decision-making, and optimize their customer experience. These businesses ideally first were not built on an AI proposition, but they're strategically using AI to elevate their products or streamline their processes. So across the report, we're going to see a breakdown of funding across the countries and across the industries that captures what was AI native, which was built ideally originally on AI, and what was AI enabled, which uses AI to support the process. Before I look into the numbers, there are a couple of government initiatives and funds that we've seen over the past year or a bit more that we're focusing on AI. Currently, AI in MENA is defined as a pillar of transformation across the region. It's not only a tool, it's more of a strategic asset currently to diversify, build knowledge economies, empower generation of tech talent. And we're seeing multi-billion dollar strategies that are focusing on innovation into the technology. We're seeing sovereign-backed VC funds that are supporting the growth of the industry. The region is actually actively positioning itself as a leader of AI adoption and not only a follower. If we look at the UAE specifically, we see it was the first country to appoint an AI minister. We've seen a national AI strategy in the UAE, which the National AI Strategy 2031. We see that they developed a Dubai AI campus, while in Saudi Arabia over the past couple of weeks, the story around AI was mostly around Humane, which is PIF's backed fund. We've seen Wa'ad Ventures commit to a $100 million fund. We've seen Google and STV co-launch a $100 million fund to support regional AI startups. That was not only restricted to the top countries across the VC ecosystem in the region. We've also seen Egypt develop an AI strategy 2025-2030 in partnership with Microsoft. Egypt trained 100,000 Egyptians into the AI skills. We've seen Qatar allocating $2.4 billion to national AI efforts. So there's a full-fledged program across the countries of the region in order to support the technology going into AI and the growth of the technology across the ecosystem. Looking at the numbers at the moment, we see that over the past 3 years, data did show a clear pivot towards AI in MENA's VC ecosystem. During 2024 alone, we've seen funding that's directed into AI reach $224 million, which is up 66% from what we've seen in 2023, which was the 135 million trough we've seen after a decrease from $301 million in 2022. Although we haven't returned into the peaks of 2022, which is the 301 million, as I mentioned, we're seeing a notable recovery that's moving into the technology. What's interesting about 2024 is AI attracted 12% of all VC dollars in the region, which is the highest share on record across the 3 years we're tracking currently at MAGNiTT. And this is a 4 percentage point increase from what we've seen in 2022 and around 7 percentage point increase from what we've seen in 2023. If we're looking at the deals, we're at 116 AI deals in 2024, which is a 15% year-on-year increase, pushing the share of AI deals to total deals to 19%, which is again a 5 percentage point increase compared to 2022, which is currently the base year we are comparing to. And that's with 2023, the highest relatively share we've seen to date. To put this simply, we're at around 1 in every 5 venture deals closed in the region getting backed by AI at its core or AI as an enabling technology. And this definitely highlights a fundamental shift where AI in the region is no longer just curiosity, it's more of a mainstream of the investment focus we're seeing across different countries and across different industries. Looking at AI-enabled startups specifically, we see that those applying AI across other verticals in terms of funding saw a growth of 46% year-on-year increase in terms of the funding that's getting allocated into AI-enabled startups during 2024. Looking at the stages, ideally, we saw a certain concentration. In most of our MAGNiTT reports, we see the breakdown according to round sizes or according to stages. Mostly in the region, we see there is a concentration across early stage and across pre-Series A and Series A. It's a bit similar across AI. We see that early stage rounds are still dominating. 93% of all transactions across the MENA region, AI transactions across the MENA region between 2022 and 2024 were focused mostly in early stage, which is much higher than the average of 70% that we're seeing globally. Ideally, this goes back to the fact that the region is still at the early levels of adopting AI, and it's more of the innovation discovery mode those deals in the region. However, we're also seeing some signs of maturity. We're seeing Series A activity picking up. We're seeing Series A activity. We're seeing Series A contributing to 6% of the deals in 2024, while in 2023 we've seen a muted activity of Series B, we've seen a comeback of Series B activity for AI functioning startups in 2024, despite a low percentage of only 1%. We're seeing a comeback of Series B activity during 2024. What's still missing for AI in the region is nine-figure rounds. So we're still missing late-stage rounds in the region, while relatively globally in the US and in Europe, we're seeing a bigger contribution of mega rounds or late-stage rounds directed into the AI technology. In the region, we're still in a maturing stage. However, late stage remains that missing link that we currently did not see yet across the AI technology. As I mentioned earlier, AI, most of the top countries ideally adopted initiatives and had some government support towards the AI activity. However, where was most of the AI allocations in terms of deals and funding? To start with, in terms of funding, UAE was on top in terms of funding with $330 million across the range of the 3 years. So between 2022 and 2024, we've seen AI technology in the United Arab Emirates allocate $330 million. 53 of those were coming from AI native startups, which is relatively a fair split between AI native and AI enabled, 53% for AI native and 47% for AI enabled. The UAE accounted for 3 of the top 5 AI deals across the range of 2022 and 2024, and 5 out of the 10 deals with the applied AI companies, $42 million, landing as the second largest deal in the region between 2022 and 2024. Egypt followed. Egypt had a bit of a different breakdown. 79% were coming from AI-enabled startups, especially those focused on SaaS and analytics. However, Egypt's PayMob closed a $50 million deal that was reported as the highest AI deal between 2022 and 2024. Saudi Arabia secured $124 million. 63% were directed into AI native startups, while the remaining was directed into AI enabled startups. Jordan, on the other hand, received $12 million, landed fourth with $16 million, which, however, both showed a skew towards more of a focus on AI native funding, more than what we've seen on AI enabled funding across the board of Jordan and Qatar as well. In terms of deals, we've seen that the UAE as well recorded the biggest aggregate number of deals across the range of 2022 to 2024. 56% of those, the breakdown here is a bit more skewed towards AI enabled startups, with 56% of those being in AI enabled, highlighting that there was a bit more activity into the country in integrating AI solutions into existing sectors. In the second position came Saudi Arabia with 73 deals across the range of 2022 and 2024, with a relatively an opposite split of the breakdown, with 55% of the deals closed in Saudi Arabia being AI native deals, while 45% being AI enabled deals. Egypt secured 42 AI related deals, with a bigger focus as well on AI native startups. A similar breakdown with more concentration of AI native was seen in Qatar and Jordan as well. While in terms of country breakdown, that was the concentration. In terms of industry breakdown, how were things different? So which industries was the AI capital flowing into? We see fintech ranking on top across most of our reports, across most of our regions and countries. In AI as well, fintech led in terms of funding. Fintech accounted for $174 million of the total AI funding that the region received between 2022 and 2024, which is 26% of all MENA AI capital. 66% of those went into AI-enabled fintech startups like PayMob, which I mentioned earlier, received a $50 million in the range of 2022 and 2024. Only 34% of the fintech startups were core AI native startups that received funding. So we're seeing more focus in fintech on the AI enabled startups. However, enterprise software, which landed first in terms of the number of deals with 72 deals, that landed as second. 72 deals contributed to 22% of all AI transactions that was closed in the MENA region. 32% of those were AI-enabled startups. 68% of those were AI native startups. If we look at the breakdown across the breakdown of AI venture deals, we see that the concentration, mostly in terms of the number of deals, was into AI native startups, with the exception of fintech, which is definitely also reflected in terms of the level of funding. Fintech had a different share of breakdown, with more focus on AI enabled startups as a tech to improve the industry, rather than more AI as core to the industry. So, putting the numbers into context, we see that there's a lot that's going on into the AI technology across the MENA region. There's a lot in terms of the outlook. There are several risks that definitely come along with any new technology that's getting adopted, and with any new industry that we see evolving. In terms of the outlook for AI, that, based on what we've seen in terms of the numbers, has been our share of what we see as the outlook, is primarily AI is definitely central to the national transformation plans that we're seeing across the Middle East. As I mentioned earlier, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Jordan, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, all are seeing initiatives that are directed and that are channeled into supporting the growth of the technology, and the technology as huge support to the venture capital space. Saudi Arabia alone ties 66 of 96 Vision 2030 goals to AI. The UAE's AI 2031 strategy is aiming to inject billions of dollars into the GDP. Egypt's AI roadmap 2025-2030 targets 250 startups and 30,000 trained professionals. We're seeing huge support from governments into pushing the technology to thrive across the region. Government views AI as a lever of diversification, productivity, and high-skilled job creation. Early-stage AI deals are now accounting for 90% of MENA's transaction volume. However, if we see the evolution and the growth, we see that we're moving into success stories, because what was earlier 96-97% of the total deals being early stage, we're now seeing higher percentages being channeled into Series A and Series B. However, as I mentioned earlier, the only missing link in the loop is currently late stage for AI, and public sector demand, domestic capital, and growing talent pool are creating a positive feedback loop for the technology. What's a bit of risk that we see across most of the industries, and not only AI, is ideally the implementation of regulations and implementation of regulations on how AI is to be used as a technology, and different agreements that are signed across countries and across specific countries into implementing the AI technology into the startups. So this comes along most of the industries we've seen. It came along fintech and the different initiatives that were taken across countries to support fintech. So that's a natural part of any technology that gets adopted, or any new industry that is within the realm of growth. This brings this presentation to an end. I'll open the floor currently to questions to support with anything you would like to learn more about AI. Yeah, sure. Okay, so thank you, Harish. As I mentioned earlier,
We have PayMob, $50 million. We have Applied AI. We have Expensio. So those are basically across the top 5 names I remember from our report. Ideally, our report has the top 10 AI funded startups across the region between 2022 and 2024. Yes, definitely. The difference between AI and AI-enabled companies is, as I mentioned earlier, so AI companies are AI native companies are the companies which have the product or service that's fundamentally built on AI technologies. So the core product of this company is an AI, an NLP, computer vision, while the AI enabled, they originally, for example, PayMob originally had their fintech solutions, but they implemented AI to improve their existing operations, to enhance their decision-making processes, and optimize their customer experience. So AI-enabled startups are startups that were originally focused on a specific technology, and they implemented AI to improve their core technologies. Yes, true. AI-enabled companies use AI to improve their business propositions and are not definitely pure AI companies which have a core product as an AI. AI native are the core product as an AI. Yes. Any questions I can support further? Awesome. Thank you everyone for attending this webinar. Our upcoming webinar is the H1 2025 Venture Capital Update that's being held by mid-July. We're looking forward to have you there. Please feel free to reach out to research at MAGNiTT for any questions you have and we can support with. Thank you.